Hey everybody, you're listening to We Don't Watch Movies. Um, with me, Monze.
And me, Corinne.
Yay! Okay,
Yay.
so yes, today we're doing the much anticipated Footloose. Much anticipated for Korean. They're very excited. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, but I really wanted to rewatch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, before we did it. I took a whole bunch of. I think it's gonna be long because I took like notes like every 5 minutes. I was pausing and like, okay, this is what happened. Okay, this is what happened.
We've
This is what
got
happened.
notes. Okay.
And I was like, it used to be on Amazon Prime, so I was like, perfect. I'll just watch it on Prime. And then of course, whenever I want to watch something that's on Prime, they're like, what if it's not on Prime? So it wasn't on Prime anymore, and I was like, I'm not gonna rent this.
Uh-huh.
So I have a 30-day free trial to Showtime. Is it Showtime? I think it's Showtime. Um, just to watch Footloose, and I was like, "What else is on?" I was like, "There's literally nothing on Showtime.
Just Footloose.
Just Footloose."
Just Footloose.
So I was like, I definitely know what I'm gonna say. Subscribe to this.
You
Yeah,
gotta you gotta learn how to pirate, Monty.
I don't have the time. I don't have
It,
the
it's
energy.
one Google
I used
search.
to do it in college all the time. I just don't. It's just I don't want to anymore. Like I did my time. Whatever. I'll just give people my money. Anyway, I need to unsubscribe to Showtime. Um. Yes. Anyway, so I rewatched Footloose.
Uh-huh.
Yesterday and the day before.
Twice. Wow.
No, like I didn't finish watching
Oh,
it
okay, okay.
because this movie is actually kind of long. I didn't realize how long it is. Like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is so long. I was like rewatching it now. I used to watch this movie all the time when I was a kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and much like Purple Rain, I didn't really understand some things. So when I was watching this time, I was like, huh. I'm like in my memory, like I remember all of like the dance scenes or whatever, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, there's poor George wants to get in. Oh, he's scratching at the door. Hold on, I'll let him in. Oh, my poor boy, my poor boy.
The poor baby. He demands to know about
Come
Footloose.
in. Who locked you out, George? I don't know. We gotta beat him up. We gotta beat him up. All right, he's been lured into a false sense of security that some bandit closed the door on him, so he can happily eat. Okay. So, Korean, why haven't you seen Footloose?
This is a great question. I don't. On one
Excellent
hand,
question.
I'm also curious why I haven't seen Footloose.
Uh-huh.
Cause like I mentioned, I love the album.
You
I
love the
love the
soundtrack, yeah.
songs. I've been listening to the album since like middle school. I've known about the songs since elementary school. Like I really, really like it. When I found out Holding Out for a Hero like came from this movie, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, even more of a reason to like this because I think that was when I actually started listening to the album because I was like,
Uh-huh.
what is this song from? They all said it's from Footloose, and I listened to it. But I feel like I've gotten close to it. I think when I really wanted to watch it in high school, there was just no means for me to watch it because my family didn't own it, and I don't think they would have let me watch it anyways. And then in college, I don't know, at some point I got to a point where I could watch it. And then I just
Okay.
didn't
Didn't.
because I think I was afraid the movie would ruin the album for me or that it
Okay.
wouldn't like live up to my expectations.
Oh my
Like
god.
I thought it was like a musical movie, like that people sang the songs for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I always was like, oh, I hope in high school like that they do Footloose because I want to sing the songs. And I realized, oh no, this is one of those movies where the song just plays in the background. That's what they mean by soundtrack. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so no one Kevin Bacon doesn't lip sync to Kenny Loggins singing Footloose in like a well
Is that
choreographed
what you
dance scene.
thought?
Yeah, I thought like they sang Footloose in the movie, and that it
Okay,
was
interesting.
like a musical movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned it wasn't that. And then I remember reading the synopsis a while ago. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what happens. But then I just didn't watch it. I was afraid it wouldn't be good. I was afraid I wouldn't like it. So really, the answer is I was afraid to watch it,
I
so
was
I didn't
afraid.
watch it.
Uh-huh.
I was
Okay.
petrified, some may say.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Corinne. What do you think this movie's about?
So it's a small town.
Okay.
There's an evangelical Christian minister. His wife died in a tragic car accident.
Okay.
And that's why he won't let his daughter dance. Or this minister,
Naturally.
or the minister's.
My wife died in a car accident. Therefore, you're not allowed to
Yeah.
dance.
It's that, or like the head of the town's daughter
Causation does
died.
not lead.
Huh?
Causation does not equal correlation in that
Yes.
scenario.
So it may be, or it's his daughter died in a car
Mm-hmm.
accident on the way back from like a prom dance, and
Mm-hmm.
the mayor, who's also a minister, is so grief stricken he bans dancing. He bans dances and dancing from the town, and everyone lives this miserable danceless life. And then Kevin Bacon shows up, and he's like some hot shot from some big city, like Nashville or something. Not like
Some big city
not like
like
a real big
Nashville.
city, like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
local
Bigger
big
than them.
city. Yeah, he's not from New York, but he's from like Nashville or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He comes over, he's new, and he's like shaking things up. And then the main girl is like this boring girl, and he's like, come on, guys, let's put some life into this town. I want to dance. They're like, no, you're not supposed to dance. And he's like, why not? And they were like, because the minister. And he's like, okay, well, I get that, but like, you can't just not dance. And the girl falls in love with him because she's like, oh my god, you're so different and so cool. And they have like the Footloose dance number, which I don't even know if it actually happens or not. Um, and and then I think he has like a cool best friend or something. See, I'm gonna tell you the movie based on what I think, based on how the album goes. So he shows up, and that's when Let's Hear It for the Boy plays. And then Almost Paradise is when the girl and Kevin Bacon are like having their moment. And then Holding Out for a Hero is when she's like, it's either her or like her best friend being like, you don't know what a real man is. Like, I'll show you what a real man is. This is what I'm looking for. And then she sings Holding Out for a Hero. And then there's like a best friend that sings like Dancing in the Sheets because he's like a sexual best friend of Kevin Bacon. And
He's
he's
a
like,
sexual best friend of Kevin Bacon.
he's like, you don't want this. He's like, you don't want this boring main character girl. You want someone that you can dance in the sheets with. And he's like, ooh. And then Kevin Bacon sings like the Kenny Loggins song and has a dance solo with the I'm Free, where he's like, this town is crushing me, but I don't want to just be like this town. Like, I'm going to be me, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know what happens during Somebody's Eyes. I forgot that song was in here. And
Somebody's eyes are watching.
yeah. And
Somebody's
then
eyes are...
eventually some conflict happens. Oh,
Oh,
Kevin
so
Bacon.
all of that wasn't the conflict.
Kevin Bacon is like, we should have a prom. We should have a prom. And then the girl's like, okay, well, if you're going to do it, I'll do it. So they hold a secret prom. They hold a secret prom.
prom.
Secret prom, and they're dancing. And then
Underground
the
prom.
grown-ups find out and they bust in. Some of the grown-ups are like cooling in with it. But some of the grown-ups are like narcs.
As most
So
grown-ups
then the
are.
minister comes in. So then the grown-ups bust in and they arrest Kevin Bacon
Mm-hmm.
for dancing. And then according to Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a dance-off. I don't know how this fits in into my
According
fantasy.
to the Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a dance-off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, the minister somehow has a change of heart. Kevin Bacon gets threatened to leave the town, but then he doesn't. And then they hold like an actual dance, and everyone starts dancing again. The main girl character is like, "No, he like brought life into our town. Do we really want to live this Puritan lifestyle? No, we should dance." And then they dance. So I think that's what the movie's about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's
Okay.
it's it's the Christians saying no dancing because the devil's in the dancing. Kevin Bacon is
The
like,
devil is in the dance.
yeah,
Okay.
Kevin Bacon's like, y'all are crazy. No.
Y'all crazy.
So
I'm from Nashville.
It's a battle of the fundamentalists versus the liberals. The liberals are trying to bring their crazy dancing to this small
Their
town.
devil dance to the small town.
And then they realize it's not a devil dance. And yeah.
Okay. All right. I sent you the link.
Okay, yeah, I saw.
To the trailer.
I'm so excited.
Paramount vehicle. Yeah.
He's the new kid in town.
He's the new kid in town.
Oh.
Footloose.
The music's on his side. Close-up shot on the groin.
Oh my god.
Loca.
Let's see, he's dancing.
Dancing in the... Dancing while playing the thing. Oh.
See, he's dancing in his hot little tight pants and
his tight
white
hot pants, his jeans.
Uh-oh, they're bullying him. Oh, see, there's the minister.
There's the minister, yeah. I like how it's not really telling us anything. It's just a lot of dancing, some screaming. That girl acted loca for no reason. Dancing. Footloose. A lot of Footloose just jumping in the thing.
Where is he? Montana?
Footloose.
Wow!
Wow.
Wow!
He's so young, but he still looks
Kevin Bacon
old.
is...
How does he do it?
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm like, he's clearly so much younger than he is now, but that is still a grown man pretending to be a high schooler.
Do you want to amend anything based on this trailer that told you nothing?
No, I think I'm really close.
Okay. I took notes.
I know, I'm really
on my
excited.
phone.
Wow.
It's 16 pages of notes on my phone. So this might be a long episode, which is bad because I have to go to sleep in like an hour. Okay. So, like the movie opens up, close up on like feet dancing, and of course it's to the title song. Which I always loved this opening sequence because I was like, that's basically how I learned how to dance, was like by watching. I was like, I'm gonna do that move, I'm gonna do that move, I'm telling you, I grew up like on 80s teen movies, and they all was like, I'm gonna dance like I'm an 80s teen. And then it like cuts to like shots of like the small town, right? Like, oh, look at this tree and this it's all like sort of empty. And over here you can hear John Lithgow, who plays the preacher Shaw Moore. He's the town pastor. And he's preaching about how, like, everything is terrible and it's rock and roll's fault and these pornographic books aren't helping or whatever. And as you're there, you're cutting to, like, you know, people in the town, and you see Ren, who is Kevin Bacon. He's sitting there with his mom, and he's just like, what is going on? And he's like, no idea what's going on. And there's like all the teenage girls are like sitting together, and they're like, they're like, oh my god, look at the new kid, he's like so cute. Like, they're just sort of looking at him, and they're like elbow Ariel, who is the girl in the trailer, and she's John Lithgow's daughter, so she's the preacher's daughter.
Oh, see.
And she's just, like, whatever. Like, she doesn't even care. And she's in the church, like, painting her nails or whatever. And, like, after the service, you know, of course, John Lithgow and his wife are, like, greeting Ren and his mom. And they're like, oh, welcome to the town. And he's like, Ariel. And she's just like, yeah, like, what? And he's like, this is Ren. Like, you're going to see him in school. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm going to go out with my friends. And she's like, okay. So she, like, goes out with all her friends. And they're, like, in this truck, and they're just, like, talking about, like, oh, my God, this one girl's gonna have, her baby. She's gonna have her baby soon. Like, oh, my God. And then, like, this blue pickup, like, drives up behind them, like, super aggressive. And they're like, oh my god, it's Chuck. And Chuck, like, drives to this, like, the side, beside him. And one of the girls is like, you want to race? Let's race. So they're, like, racing. And then Ariel, of course, is, like, insane, crazy idiot. And she, like, is like, slow down. So I'm like, I'm going to get into the car. So she's, like, throws her bag into, like, the open window of, like, the pickup.
Oh my god.
He's like, come on. And she's, like, coming out. And then, of course, as she, like, gets out, she, like, stands in between both, like, one leg in each window of the car. And there's, like, a truck coming towards, like, a pickup truck. And then, like, they're all, like, screaming, like, get in the car, get in, like, what are you doing, stop? And she's like, wow, I'm insane! I'm a dumb white girl! And, like, last minute, like, Chuck pulls her in. She, like, gets into the truck, and he's like, you are crazy. And she's like, ha, 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 like, I do what I want. Yeah, and so they end up, so anyway, Ren is at, like, an after-church, like, meeting, like, the new family, whatever type of thing. And again, like, John Lithgow is like, oh, everything, you're gonna love the town, like, it's so great. And these two parents come in, I didn't know their names, but they keep showing up. And they're like, guess what, there's some teachers trying to teach Slaughterhouse-Five, like, at the high school, like, that's no good, like, what are we gonna do about it? And everyone's like, that book is super great, and everyone is like, what are you talking about? It's a bad book. And he's like, it's a classic, and someone's like, maybe in another town it's a classic, or whatever, and he... Tom Sawyer is a classic! And he's just like, what the hell? What have I, like, walked into?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Ariel and her friends and, like, her boyfriend, like, they go to, like, I don't know what it is. Like, a diner or something. And her friends are, like, gonna go get food. And they're like, don't ever do anything like that again. She's like, oh, come on, just get me fries. She's like, no. And so she's like, whatever, you're gonna get me fries anyway. And Chuck has, like, this... And Chuck is, like, your typical, like, hot, quote-unquote, like, just hick boy, you know, and he has, like, this boombox. She, like, pulls this boombox, and she's like, I got a cassette tape. He's like, you're gonna get in trouble if your dad catches you. And she's like, I don't even care. And she, like, puts in the tape, and she starts dancing. I think it's Dancing in the Sheets, actually.
Hey, the sex song.
She pulls, like, the boombox out, and they're playing the song. And, like, she's over there, like, dancing, like, I'm dancing, kind of sexy. Whatever, she's not. And then, like, everyone, like, all the teens are out there hanging out, and they're all, like, kind of dancing and, like, putting on makeup and dancing. The guy flipping burgers is over there dancing. There's, like, random people just, like, like, they're enjoying themselves, being teens in the 80s dancing to this music. And then, of course, the cassette stops playing, and it's John Lithgow, it's Shaw, Reverend Shaw, whatever. And he's, like, looking at Ariel, and she's like, I'm caught! And everyone, like, stops dancing, and was, like, looking, like, super freaked out. And he's just like, your mom thought you didn't have any money. And he, like, gives her money, and he just kind of looks around and, like, walks away. And he leaves, but it's still, like, super awkward. And so, like, the next day, Ren is getting ready for his first day of school. He's, like, putting on a tie, like, a very new wave kind of look.
Yeah.
Like David Bowie or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's looking hot. And his mom was like, are you sure you want to wear that tie? He's like, I like the tie. And she's like, maybe you should try being less formal until you, like,
yeah,
get a newer days. He's like, I look good. I like the tie. I'm keeping the tie. And he, like, drives into school and, like, the school parking lot. And he's listening to music. And he's driving, like, this yellow punch-a-buggy, like the old, like, 60s
That's
bugs.
so cute.
And,
what a
of course,
dork.
everyone has, like, a pickup truck, right? Like,
I lied. Maybe he is from a big city like San Francisco. Like, not even a buggy in Montana.
And everyone is, like, looking at him, like, it's such a small town. Like, everyone knows he's new. And he's just like, okay, whatever. So he's, like, walking in the hall. And he, like, bumps into, like, this guy with a cowboy hat. And they're, like, insulting each other, He's like, oh, nice tie, or whatever. And he's like, oh, look at that stupid hat. Do they sell girl clothes? Men's clothes, where they buy that, whatever? And they're like, ha ha ha. And of course, like, men, they're like, we're gonna become friends. And the cowboy hat guy's like, I'm Willard, and he's like, Ren, you know, and he's like, okay, cool, see you around, or whatever. And then, like, Ariel and her friend, I think her name is Rusty, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, her friend. Yeah. Are, like, walking down the hall. She's like, wow, you look so cool. Like, such a hot look. Like, you look great. Don't let anyone tell you different or whatever. And he's just like, okay. And, like, walking by, and he's like, Ariel. And she turns around and, like, looks at him. And he's like, right? And she's like, and she, like, walks away because she thinks she's so hot. And her friend's like, you are so hot right now. And she's just like, I know. Like, it's so stupid. And, okay, so anyway, Ren is from Chicago. He just came from Chicago.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, he's from a big, big town.
He's from a big, big town.
Yeah.
And Willard's like, what's it like in Chicago, man? And Ren's like, let me tell you, like, you know, I would go to clubs all the time. I'd go dancing. And he's, like, telling this, like, quote-unquote, like, hot... Yeah, like, you would get, like, your fake ID and you go into, like, a club to dance or whatever.
Wow, okay.
Why is this so weird to you?
That's just not something I would... That's not... Monze, I lived a sheltered life. The idea of a 15-year-old in a club, I'm like, oh my god.
They're seniors, so he's, like, 17 years old. 17, 18 years old.
I imagine he's been going to the club since he was 13.
Oh, right. He's been going since he was 8 years old.
Just because Kevin Bacon has that kind of face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Kevin Bacon. Let's let him in. He's 50. Yeah, and he's, like, telling this, like, story about, like, oh, you know, you used to dance with, like, a whole bunch of hot college girls. So, like, I met this one girl once, and we were, like, totally making out. Mm-hmm. And she was like, let's take this, you know, further. And he's, like, talking about, like, we were hooking up in the backseat of her car, and Willard's like, you're totally full of shit. And he's like, yeah, but we danced, so that part of my story is true. We totally danced, though. And then, like, Rusty, whatever her name is, Sarah Jessica Parker, shows up with this other girl, and she's like, oh my god, Willard, I can't believe you're making the new guy eat this gross stuff. Like, come sit with us. So they go, like, sit with her and her buds. And Willard is like, well, you can't do that here. And he's like, what, dance? And he's like, what do you mean you can't dance? He's like, yeah, dancing is, like, totally illegal. Dancing and music is totally illegal because, like, 5 years ago, there was this car wreck. Like, these people were coming, like, these kids were coming back from this concert, mm-hmm. and they, like, got into a car accident and they died. And he's like, what the heck? Like, he's, like, totally, like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And then he is asking, like, Willard, like, well, do you know about, like, the Clash? And he's like, who's that? Well, what about the police? He's like, I don't know the police, but I can see them. I see them right now. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, behind us? Because they're, like, in his car. Yeah. And, of course, he's playing, like, music in his car. So he basically gets pulled over and he gets a ticket. Oh, my God. For playing music, you know. Mm-hmm. And he's, like, super upset. And so he's staying, like, he and his mom are staying with his aunt and uncle. Mm-hmm. And his uncle's like, rules are rules, you need to follow the rules, like, you can't be, like, starting trouble or whatever. And Ariel, she apologizes to her dad about, like, the music. She's like, I don't know what came over me. And he's, like, listening to, like, classical music, like Hans or something. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know, Hayden? Something. I don't know. Start with an H. Maybe. I don't know who it is.
I don't know a composer named Hans.
Look. I didn't write down the composer because I didn't think I was going to need it, but then I pulled something out of my ass. Yes, I think it's Hayden, whatever. And he's listening to, like, this music, and she's like, but this music's okay? He's like, yeah, because this music doesn't confuse your body or your mind or whatever nonsense. And anyway, Ren, he gets a job at, like, this flower, like, some warehouse or whatever, like a mill, I think, mm-hmm. like, moving flour, basically. And, like, he goes to the guys, like, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to do this. And he's like, so can I start? And he's like, yeah, sure, start Thursday, whatever. So he gets, like, this job, and he's just hauling flour. And Ariel, like, shows up, like, he's hauling, like, you see her big red boot or whatever, and she's just like, Chuck wants to meet you someplace, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically right. He wants to fight him because earlier he had like cut him off in the parking lot and insulted him, and he was super upset because he's like an aggro farm boy. He can't handle this. And he's like, "Why did he send you?" And she was like, "I volunteered," or whatever, stupid. And then you see like Ren. He's like doing gymnastics. He's on the gymnastics team, like doing like parallel bars or something. And he's basically asking about Ariel, and Mildred's like, yeah, she totally like acts out because she wants everyone to forget that she's like the preacher's daughter or whatever. And he's like, she's been kissed a lot. And he's like, okay, interesting. And then like you see Chuck and Ariel like outside in a blanket, and she's like putting her boots back on or whatever, like totally had the sex.
Ooh. They were
Ariel's
dancing in the sheets, extended remix.
And there, yeah, and there's like a song playing. Like it's like I don't know what the song is playing at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I can only tell you a couple of what songs they're playing at certain times. And she's like, "What are you gonna do when I leave town?" He's like, "What are you talking about? When are you gonna leave?" She's like, "I'm planning. Like I'm gonna leave this place. I'm gonna leave this small town. I'm going to colleges or whatever." And he's like, why? He's like, you're small town as me, right? Like, everything here is perfect. Like, why would you want to leave, you know? So immediately there's, like, this whole, like, clash of, you know, she doesn't really say anything, but she's just like,
yeah.
Okay, so then you go to, like, where he's gonna meet up for this fight, and, it's basically a tractor chicken fight. So they're, like, Ren's friends are trying to teach him how to use a tractor. I forgot what one guy's name is. He's just like, okay, look, you gotta do this, this, this. And as he's saying, like, this, you hear, like, Willard echoing, yeah, you do that. So he's like, do this, all right, do this. And then he's like, oh, and then make sure to put that in gear. Yeah, make sure to put that in gear. So it's like, so Ren is like, what? Like, I can't, like... Yeah, so he has, like, no idea what's going on. He's like, are you sure? Like, we have to do this? Like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, has anyone ever died doing this? And one of the guys is like, just once, like, whatever. He's like,
just once.
And Ariel goes over to them. Well, no, she doesn't over to them. She, like, goes, you know, in the middle. She, like, puts a brand. She's like, God, or whatever. And she throws her thing. I think... What song is this? Is this Holding Out for... One of the big songs plays. I can't remember.
Not Holding Out for a Hero playing during a tractor chicken fight. Oh my goodness.
I was gonna say that one, but I don't think it is. It can't be that one.
Is it Jump for My Love? Because that's technically in... Isn't that in the movie? Or I guess Let's Bring It for the Boy.
I don't know.
Let's hear it for the boy.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that one. Don't worry. I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna kill me.
Is it I'm Free? Is it Never? Is it one of the bonus tracks?
It is Holding Out for a Hero.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I was like, it has to be Holding Out for a Hero because I'm hearing it in my head while this track. So as soon as they start like moving, the song starts playing. It's hilarious.
Oh my god, I can imagine the cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it is Holding Out for a Hero.
They're like doing wheelies in the cornfield.
They're not doing wheelies in the cornfield. So anyway, like, she starts them off and they start heading towards each other, and Ren is like super like freaked out. And they start to get pretty close, and Ren's like, I'm just gonna jump, right? Like, I don't care if I'm the chicken, like, they pulled me out, like, I don't care. But his shoelaces get stuck on like a gear or something. Not a gear, but like something's on there. So he's like trying to get up, but like he's like getting up, and the guy's like, yeah, chicken or whatever. But he like is stuck, so he literally cannot get off. So they keep getting closer and closer. Chuck is like, what is he doing? He's crazy. What is he doing? So then they start getting super, super close, and of course Chuck jumps off, and he ends up in like a small like ravine or something. And he's like all upset, and his tractor like flips over, and so Ren ends up winning the chicken fight. And everyone's like, oh my god, yeah, you did it. Even Ariel's like, oh, maybe this guy isn't, he's like super interesting. And then like Rusty like show like they're at like the diner. Ariel's like eating fries and Rusty comes. She's like, I got all the deets on Ren. She's like, tell me, and she like basically tells him his schedule. Like he's got gymnastics after school and he goes to work on these days or whatever. And she's like, okay, but like, is he seeing anyone? And she's like, no, he hasn't like shown anybody any interest. He hasn't dated anyone since he got here.
He's been here like a week.
It's probably been like 2 weeks. It might be like a month for all I know. I don't know. And so then Ren is like studying in a classroom. He gets up and like some small town hick shows up and starts like messing with him. And he like gets him set up. He like sets him up to make it seem like he's trying to sell weed in school because he like gives it to him and Ren's like, I don't want this. He tries to give it back and he like runs and like they end up like flushing it down the toilet or something, and there's a teacher there and he's like, Ren, the new kid, the guy from the big city, you're causing mayhem, right? So he gets into trouble and his uncle's like lecturing him and he's like, you can't be doing this, why are you doing all this stuff, you know, I'm not trying to replace your father or anything. And Ren is like, yeah, I know you're not my dad. And he like gets upset and he like runs away. Well, he drives away and he drives to like some abandoned train yard or something.
And he
I guess it's not abandoned. And I love this scene. So he what's it called?
He has a flash dance moment.
He like gets out of his car and he's drinking like a beer bottle and like the song starts playing. Which one is it? I'm trying to remember what song it is.
Is it I'm Free?
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know the name of the song.
Or is it Never?
It's Never. It's
okay.
Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So he, like, that one starts playing, and he's, like, drinking a beer bottle. He gets, he, like, throws it. He's, like, smoking a cigarette, and he throws it, and he takes off his sweater, and he starts doing, like, a big dance, like, whoa, 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 like a gymnastics thing. He's, like, swinging on, like, chains, and he's, like, because he's a gymnast, he's, like, doing flips and, like, all this stupid stuff, but it's amazing. And so he's, like, dancing or whatever, and as the song, like, basically comes to an end, Ariel, like, is there, and she's like, wow, you're so good, and he's like, I thought I was alone without you. But yeah, he, like, does a super angsty dance on, like, a bar routine, and she's like, why don't you like me? And he's like, what? And she's like, why don't you look at me? Why don't you talk to me? And he's like, because if I did, your boyfriend would kill me. She's like, Chuck doesn't own me. I do what I want. She's so stupid.
He's literally like, you're taken, and she's like, that's what you think. That's your interpretation.
And she's like, do you want to kiss me? And he's like, someday. And she's like, what do you mean someday? And he's like, I feel like you've kissed a lot of guys. I feel like I would fail in comparison or whatever. And she just like insulted. She's like, you think I'm small town? Like, I'm getting out of this small town. Like, oh my god, you couldn't be more small town. She's like, you want to see something? She like takes him to like this part of like the train yard or whatever.
I thought she was gonna show him her tits.
You want to see something? Boobs. Does this look small town to you? Which is really funny because the actress, like, she has like no boobs, like, at all.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, so she, like, takes him to this place, and she's like, oh, this is where we have, like, some books that they, you know, don't let us read, or we, like, write poetry on, like, the walls or whatever, and he reads one, and she's like, yeah, that's me. He's like, that's pretty good. She's like, thank you. And then she's like, oh, this is something else we like to do, like, we would all come down here and, like, scream at, like, the trains or whatever, and he's like, what does that mean? So, like, there's a train coming, and she, like, stands on the rail.
Yeah.
And she's there, and she just starts, like, screaming, like, the top of her lungs, and the train is, of course, coming towards her, and Ren is like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl? And he, like, at the last minute, again, someone saves her life because she has a death sentence. He, like, pushes her out of the way. And the train goes by. And they do that thing where they're, like, one of them's lying on the other. And she's, like, looking at him like, oh, my God, is he gonna kiss me? And, of course, he's like, I'm gonna take you home.
She did that on purpose.
So, yeah, he, like, gets her home. And she gets in trouble by her dad for breaking curfew. And he's like, you've been drinking, you've been smoking. She's like, I haven't been drinking, I haven't been smoking. And she gets mad. She's like, you wanna know where I was? I was with Ren. He's like, stay away from Ren, he's a troublemaker. She's like, don't tell me what to do, daddy. And then Ren is like, he's washing his car and he's telling Willard, like, I just got kicked off the gymnastics team, you know, because Coach found out that he brought Ariel home late, right? But of course, he told me it wasn't because of that. It was because there's no more funding for an extra team member or whatever. And he's just, like, really frustrated. Like, no matter what he's, like, he does, he can't seem to fit in, right? And then Willard is, he's messing around. He's like, oh, what you need to do is, like, you need to start your own nightclub or whatever. And Ren is like, yes, let's have a dance. Let's have a dance. And he, like, starts spraying him with the water. Super not homoerotic at all.
I mean, he keeps going to all those clubs.
I know.
One of them's bound to be like a Studio 54 style club.
And there's like a town meeting. It's not like the city, like a city hall. It's just like, you know, like, you know how adults have their meetings. And they're just like, oh, you know, I hear that Ren, that super bad kid, wants to have this dance. And they're like, we can't let them have a dance. And while they're having this meeting, like, Ariel sneaks out of the house. And she sneaks out to go with Ren and Willard and her friend Rusty or whatever. And they go over to, like, the next state to go to some dance club. And it's, like, a cowboy dance place. Like, not cool at all. And Rusty wants to dance, you know. And Willard's like, no, I don't want to dance. Like, I don't want to dance. She's like, come on. He's like, no. And so, you know, Ren's like, come on, aren't you going to dance? He's like, look, I can't dance. And Ren's like, oh, okay. So he, like, goes to go dance with, like, Ariel. And Willard and Rusty are just, like, sitting at this table. And he just keeps drinking more and more. And Rusty keeps getting, like, more and more, like, sad. Just like, oh, my God. Like, the guy who came with, like, won't even dance with me. And, like, Ren and Ariel are dancing. And it's just, like, random, like, kind of not even an attractive older guy shows up. And he, like, grabs Rusty to dance. And they start dancing. And Willard gets super upset. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? That's my girl. I can't. He's like, well, then why aren't you dancing with her? You know. So they get into a fight, and of course Willard loses. And as they start heading home, they start crossing over, like, this bridge, and Willard is saying that he hates this bridge. And Ren's like, well, why? And Ariel's like, well, you've heard the story, right? She's like, there were a bunch of kids, they got into an accident, you know, and they were, like, playing, I don't know if they were playing a game or something, but, like, they ended up falling off, like, the bridge, and they all died. And that her older brother was one of the kids. And then after that, her dad went off the deep end, and he decided he had to, like, save the whole town, right? So which is why there's, like, no music, no dancing, or whatever. And then later, her dad is like, why weren't you at your friend's house like you said you were going to be? And she was like, you only care about me when I'm out of the house, right? Like, you don't care about what I'm doing when I'm here, right? And the mom is like, can you two please stop fighting? It's, like, just before school.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're always taking Ariel's side. And she's like, no, I'm not. And Ariel's like, you don't even listen to me, so why are you gonna listen to mom or whatever? And he, like, slaps her, and she's just, like, shocked. And she leaves, and she goes to school. And then, of course, John Lithgow is like, I've never hit anyone ever in my entire life. He's, like, freaking out. And the mom is like, oh, he's like, I'm super afraid I'm losing her. And the mom is like, yeah, no shit, basically. She's like, you know, you two used to be so similar, you know, when she was younger. You know, it was always you two together, and I was kind of jealous. He's like, you are a good preacher, but, like, you need to work on your one-on-one skills or whatever.
Yeah.
And John Lithgow's like, what the hell does that mean? And Ren starts asking, like, his fellow students, his fellow classmates, like, hey, would you guys be interested in a dance or whatever? And they're all like, I don't think my mom would like it. Like, nerds asking the wrong people. And then one of the guys who, like, framed him for the weed or whatever, like, grab him with all his friends and, like, start beating him up. And, like, talking shit about, like, this dance. Like, oh, you're gonna throw this dance? Like, haha, like, you can't, whatever. And then one of his friends, not Willard, some other guy, whose name I literally don't know, like, comes out and he starts, like, beating them up and, like, getting them off of him. And they're like, you think you're gonna throw this dance? And Ariel shows up. She's like, yeah, totally gonna throw that dance. Like, watch out. Oh, his name's Woody. I wrote it down here, finally. This is around the time I finally learned this guy's name. So, you know, but he's like, you know, he's got his friends now. He's got, like, his clique. He's starting to fit in a little bit more. And he's dressing a little more like cowboy. Like, sometimes he'll wear, like, cowboy boots, and he won't be wearing, like, his new wave tie. Like, you know. So anyway, we're in the shower for some reason, like, the boys' locker room. Ooh. Immediately, I see a butt, and I'm like, white pasty boy butts. Not even, like, a nice good butt. It's Woody's butt.
It's like a butt that goes in.
And they're talking about this in the boy shower, and Willard's like, you know, if you want to throw a dance, you're going to have to get permission from City Hall. And you know who's on that city council? It's Shaw. It's John Lithgow. And Ren's like, I'm not a public speaker or whatever. And then he's like, okay, well, if I need to go talk to City Hall, then I'm going to teach you how to dance, Willard. And this is, let's hear it for the boy. This is
not,
like, music.
Let's hear it in the boy playing in the boys' locker room in the shower.
No. This is after this,
okay.
when it becomes the teaching Willard how to dance montage. Okay? And I took notes of this montage because I noticed some things. Okay, so it, like, started, like, Ren trying to teach him, like, how to find, like, the beat and the rhythm, and Willard is just, like, super off. Like, it's super embarrassing. He's, like, super bad, and so Ren is, like, using his... So he's got, like, two cousins, like, they're younger, like, 8 and, like, 6 or whatever. Like, these girl cousins. So he's, like, using them as, like, a dance partner for Willard. They do, like, a very gay run stroll through, like, a flower field. Like, these, like, cherry tree, like, blossoms or whatever. He's, like, teaching couples dance to him in, like, an empty gym or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then he, like, let's try this with my little girl cousins instead of me as, like, the girl partner. And then when he finally does learn how to dance, he does, like, a dance for Ren. Like, you see him showing off his dance moves. And, like, he's, like, so this is, like, at his farm. So he's dressed, like, sweaty. Like, he's super sweaty, and he's wearing, like, a tight t-shirt and tight jeans with his cowboy boots and, like, his cowboy hat. And his shirt is, like, you know, it's, like, kind of cut like a muscle tee or whatever. And Ren is sitting on this tractor wheel, like, with a very big smile, like this is very homoerotic. Thank you. This is very queer reading, queer lens I'm watching this with. I never noticed. I love this montage, but I never, like, really, like, noticed. I was like, huh, okay.
Interesting.
This is, like, the volleyball scene. Okay, and then, like, there's, like, some townspeople that are, like, telling Shaw, he's like, oh, we found one of the banned books in, like, a student's locker, you know, and we should have a book burning or whatever.
Oh my
and the Reverend's like, no, I'm not going to support you on this, right? And the dude is like, it takes so little to corrupt or whatever. And Shaw is like, do you lose it as quickly as you lose your compassion or something like that, right? And the guy's like dumbfounded, like, what? Like, why aren't you supporting me, Shaw?
Why won't you let me have a Nazi-style book burning?
Why won't you let me do this? Yeah. And then Chuck and Ariel have a fight. So, like...
I saw that coming.
Oh, did you see that coming? So, like, Chuck is sitting in his, like, pickup truck behind, like, the stadium or whatever. Like, the bleachers. of the field, and he's, like, super angry, and he's like, and Errol shows up and, like, steps out, and he's like, what the hell's going on? She's like, look, I just wanted to tell you. And he's like, I already know what you're going to tell me. Like, you've been hanging out with that Ren guy, you know. And he's like, you've been giving me the brush off. She's like, I wanted to tell you, like, in person, right? Like, basically that I wanted to end whatever we have. And he, like, goes just super toxic man on her. And he's like, you know, all you want to do is sleep with Bren, right? Like, you're a slut, basically.
Oh, my goodness.
And she gets mad and she slaps him. And then he punches her. And she, like, falls to the ground. He's like, I treated you decent or whatever.
Oh, not anymore. Jeez.
And, yeah, and he, like, gets in his truck and she gets up, mad. She gets up and she, like, finds a pipe, like, in the back of his truck. And she grabs, she's, like, hitting his car with it. And she, like, breaks his front light, headlights.
Oh, my God.
And he, of course, gets out and he, like, grabs her. She's like, let go of me! And he, like, pulls a pipe and he, like, hits her again.
Oh, my God.
Yes! I was like, oh, my God, I never really, like, realized, like, I never really paid attention to this. Like, wow. He, like, beating her up. And he's, like, super mad. And he, like, leaves, whatever. And she's got, like, this black eye.
Oh, my, he punched her in the face.
Yeah, when he, like, after she slapped him, he, like, punches her in the face.
Oh, my God.
He gives her a black eye. And she, like, goes to Ren or whatever. And she's, like, trying to give him this gift. He's like, what's this for? She's like, you know, for going against my dad. And he's like, look, I'm not going against your dad, right? Like, I don't have any beef against your dad. Like, I have a beef against this town. You know, I'm not fighting your dad for you. He's like, maybe you should stop trying so hard to, you know, make your dad... No, maybe you should stop trying so hard to, like, to forget your brother and to make your dad forget your brother or whatever. And he's like, can I still get the gift, though? And she's like, yes, here you go. And it's, like, a music box or whatever. And he, like, opens it, and there's, like, a little song playing. It's not any song on the soundtrack. Yeah. It's just, like, you know, a music box song. And she's like, so are you ever gonna kiss me?
Oh, my God, girl.
And, of course, they kiss. And then Shaw's wife, the mom, Vi, I think her name is, she asks Shaw, like, are you, like, have you guys decided about, like, the dance or whatever? And he's like, yeah, we're not gonna let this dance happen. And she's like, stopping them from having this dance isn't gonna undo this accident, right? Like, you can't be a father to everyone in the town. And he's like, you know, I thought you believed in me. And she's like, I never stopped believing in you, right? And so then again, he's like, what? Like, oh my God, my wife is constantly opening my eyes to things, but I don't know what it is she's opening my eyes to. You know, like, he's always shook by whatever she says. But it's like, you're not learning your lesson yet. So then after school, all of the friends are, like, handing out all these flyers. Like, come support Ren at the city council meeting tomorrow night. Like, come see him. And I was like, are you nervous? He's like, yeah, I'm nervous. And she's like, I've got something for you. And she, like, hands him this Bible with, like, pages marked, with passages. And he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Where did you get this? How did you know where to find it? She's like, seriously? Like, I'm the preacher's daughter. So yeah. And then in the middle of the night, the dumb kids, probably Chuck and his crew, like, they threw a brick through the window of the house that Ren's, his uncle's house, basically. And it goes actually in the room of his younger cousins. So the girls are, like, screaming and crying, and the brick says, like, burn in hell or whatever, and the uncle's like, this is why you shouldn't stir the pot. This is why you shouldn't be doing all this crazy stuff. He's like, my business is suffering, and, like, your aunt's been getting ugly phone calls, and today your mother lost her job. And Ren's like, Mom, you lost your job? She's like, yeah, well, my boss said that, you know, you keep acting up, that I should probably stay home, you know, and be a better mother to you. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, so I told him to shove it. And the uncle's like, why are you acting like this, or whatever. And so the uncle's just like, stop it, Ren, just stop it. And then the mom asks Ren, right, like, why do you want to do this dance? And he's like, you're not going to understand, Mom. And she's like, just tell me. And he's like, okay. Well, he's like, well, when Dad started to threaten that he was going to leave, you know, I thought it was maybe on me. So I kept trying to do all this stuff to make him stay. You know, basically the backstory of why they're even here. And he's like, but he left anyway, and it was like, what's the point of trying to do anything, right? Like, because you won't succeed. He's like, but I feel like I can make a difference. Like, I can do something to change this. So anyway, the next night, it's the city council meeting. It's packed. There's all these, like, teenagers there. And Ren's all dressed up in his nice little suits. And they're like, all right, the license for pets or whatever goes up $1, and is there any more business or whatever? And Renz ends up, he's like, yes, I have some business. He's like, I'm here representing the high school senior class, and we want to throw a prom, so if you could abolish the no music and dancing law, please. And all the kids are like, yeah. And Shaw steps in, he's like, that's great, but we cannot do this because sex and alcohol are definitely involved, you know, and it corrupts you all spiritually. It's super disruptive. And all the adults in the room applaud him. And then the council moves to, like, vote. They're like, all right, everyone who wants to vote on this. And everyone's like, hey, I want to speak. But, of course, everyone's, like, being super loud. And then this one lady stands up, and she's like, ah! And then the mom, Ariel's mom, is like, shut up and sit down and let Ren talk. And everyone's like, ooh. So Ren goes up there. He goes up to, like, the podium. And he, like, is like, look, the reason we dance, or, like, you know, is to dance in, like, celebration for all this stuff. He's like, you know, we're just trying to dance in celebration, right? And so he, like, pulls out the Bible, starts pulling out, like, quotes, right, like, Bible quotes about dancing and, like, why you do it. And everyone's, like, super moved, like, oh my god, this is so great. And he finishes his little speech, and he walks out, like, super dramatic. But, of course, the petition was denied. And you sort of find this out because Ren is, like, at work, and the boss is like, you should have known, right, that it would have gotten denied. Like, everyone was going to vote no before you even got there. They weren't going to listen to you. He's like, but you can't have your prom in this town, but what if you have it in the next town over? He's like, no, the point was to be in the town. He's like, well, these train tracks right here, like, the town firemen can't cross them, right? So clearly this is the part of town. It might be the next town over, but it's still here, right? Like, it's not, like, 30 miles out or whatever. So he's like, I'll let you use this warehouse for your dance, you know? And, like, show, you know, the Reverend, like, basically change his mind, right? Like, yeah, it's not going to be in the town, like, but there's nothing he can do because it's not his town. So anyway, Ariel, like, goes to confront her dad at church. He's, like, working on, like, his sermon or whatever. And she's like, you know, I used to get a big kick out of watching you do your sermons. And I was like, but not anymore. She's like, it's basically just a big show, isn't it? And he's like, well, this is how I like to reach people, right? Like, this is how I connect to them. And they, like, get into this big fight, and she gets mad about, like, you know, you can't allow music, you can't do any of this. And he's like, I'm in charge of your spiritual soul or whatever. She's like, I'm not even a virgin. And he's just like, don't use that kind of language in this church. And then, like, his assistant or some lady who works in the church runs in, and she's like, Shaw, we have a problem. We need you at the school, at the library, or whatever. And, of course, the one guy who kept bringing up, like, the books, like, the books, like, they're having, like, this book burning or whatever.
Oh, my God.
And he goes over there, and he's like, oh, my God, like, what are you doing? Stop. He yells at everyone, like, who elected all of you to save everyone's souls? And the devil isn't in your books, it's in your heart. And Ariel, like, of course, followed, and she's, like, watching this. And then they don't really say anything, but you can see that they're kind of starting to understand each other, right? And later that evening, like, Ren comes over, he leaves, and he's like, you know, that young fella just came and asked me if he could take you to senior prom or whatever. She's like, look, I know I haven't been great, you know, but I believe in you. And he's like, oh, interesting. And in church, it's like, you know, he's preaching, and he's like, you know, I have a troubled heart. I thought I was helping everyone in this town, but I made some mistakes. And if we don't trust our children, how can we ever find them trustworthy? So let's pray that the kids' senior prom goes well, basically, right? Like, he's giving them their blessing. But, of course, the law isn't abolished, but baby steps.
Yeah.
You know. And the teens, they go, they're like, yeah, there's like this random like bike scene, like a montage, like they're on dirt bikes, like for a minute maybe. Like I'm like, they're just riding by. Like, okay, I don't know where they got. I don't know what this serves, but anyway. So they like go to like decorate the warehouse or whatever, and like they finish, and everyone's cheering, like yeah. And Ariel's like trying on her, like she's putting her dress, and she's like, oh, like I feel like so like and then the mom comes in. She's like, I got you. What is a prom without a corsage? And she's like, oh my god, how do I? She's like, and she puts it on her wrist. And she's like, oh my god, thank you so much. You shouldn't have. She's like, I didn't. You know, your dad did. But don't tell him because you know he's just going to deny it. And so she's like, oh my god, my dad loves me. And then, like, Ren goes to pick her up. And she, like, walks. He's like, no, you should have waited for me to get you. But I, like, to, you know, get to the door. And he's just like, oh my god, like, super stunned. Like, you are beautiful. She's like, stop that. So they get into his car. And he, like, he's going to open it. But, of course, it's locked. So he has to, like, run around. He, like, climbs over the seat, like, pulls open the thing, and then she goes up, and he's like, no, and he, like, goes around to, like, open it for her. And he's, like, looking super smug, like, I got the hottest chick, like, I'm gonna be with the hottest chick at the prom, like, super adorable, super dorky. And then, of course, we go to the prom, to the actual dance, and, like, music's playing, but, like, everyone is just sort of standing at, like, the wall. Everyone's kind of like, well, what are we doing? There's a guy literally just picking his nose. Like,
oh my god.
They're all like, oh, we've never been to a dance in our entire lives. And then, like, Ren and Ariel show up. And so, like, Ren starts slow dancing with Ariel and then, like, some other couples. So, like, the party starts, basically. And then Shaw and his wife sort of show up. They're like, they don't go in. They're just, like, outside of the warehouse. And Shaw's like, no, if Ariel sees me, she's going to think I don't trust her. And she's like, no, let's just, you know, be here and, like, take in the atmosphere and, like, be happy that you've done, like, let these kids do this. And, like, the guy who owns the warehouse is like, I'm surprised to see you here, Shaw. He's like, it's a good thing you did, but you could have done it a little bit better, but that's fine. You're letting them have this party. And then Rusty and Willard show up again on one of, like, these dumb little motorbikes. And these, like, guys start, again, Chuck and his cronies are all like, hey, it's Willard. And Rusty's like, you promised not to fight tonight. And so then they start, like, beating up Willard. He's like, I promised Rusty I wouldn't fight tonight. And then, like, they, like, grab Rusty. And he's like, Rusty, what do you want me to do? She's like, kick their asses, Willard. So he likes fighting them. And then, like, Ren comes out with Ariel, and, like, Ren beats up Chuck, and he, like, you know, defeats him in battle.
Defeats him in battle.
Defeats him in battle. And then, of course, the ultimate scene that everyone knows in Footloose is they go back in, and Ren's like, everybody, let's dance! And then it's the Footloose song.
Yeah.
And everyone's dancing. And then Ariel, oh my god, it's the most annoying thing. It's, like, the entire scene, she's just, like, screaming. She's going, like, wah! Wah! You know, because someone's, like, doing a dance, and she's like, wah! It's like, Ariel, shut up! She's so annoying. I can't stand her. There's, like, a big, dance. You know how people, like, do, like, whatever. They go in the middle and they start doing things. Like, this one guy just, like, starts breakdancing. You're like, what the heck? And then Willard's doing some dance, and he, like, pulls Ren, and, like, Ren gets it, and they start doing a dance. And, of course, it ends, like, on Ren, like, dancing, like, yeah!
Yeah.
And so they did their dance. They won in the end. Yeah.
That movie is... I feel like that movie, when it came out, like, obviously it was like, wow, amazing, right? And, like, everyone loved that soundtrack. Like, that song is phenomenal. I feel like the movie went from being, this is an amazing movie in the 80s, to this is a really dated movie in the 2000s and 2010s, to now this movie is surprisingly really relevant today.
When I was rewatching, I was like, I never really paid attention. Like, I really only paid attention to, like, the musical sequences. And then I was like, oh, yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff happening in this story. Like, I was surprised how much, like, serious business there was.
Yeah.
You know, like, Ren being harassed at school, like, not fitting in. And, you know, like, the whole town talking about, like, book burning and, like, this whole, like, you know, can you save everyone by, like, being tyrannical, basically, you know? But, yeah, I really liked it still.
Yeah.
Now that I actually understood everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But it was kind of long. I was surprised. It was like 2 hours. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. It sounds good. I want to watch it.
If you want to get a 30-day free subscription trial to Showtime on Amazon Prime, you can watch it.
I'll just find it online. It's an old
or
movie.
you can do, but yeah, and it's so. Corinne, what would you give this movie a rating?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Prepared to love this film.
There's quite a lot I like about what you told me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just interesting how back to relevant.
Do you want to?
Film is. Huh?
Do you want to see one of the dance montage teaching Willard how to dance, or do you just want to see it in the movie?
I think I need to see it in the context of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, does the preacher dad not realize that the book burning is literally a direct result of how he's preaching? Like, the adults are trying to do that because he keeps talking about, like, the devil and things. Like, does he have that moment of, like, I made this, now I have to correct this?
When it comes to the book burning, that is sort of when he, like, realizes, like, oh, this is my fault. Because, like, yeah, he starts out talking about, like, again, pornographic books, whatever. You go to, like, yeah, this is, like, a C story. And then, like, again, when they're at, like, the thing and they talk about, like, oh, Fahrenheit 451, like, it's a classic, like, not in our town, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go where the guy's like, maybe we should have a book burning. He's like, I'm not going to support you. But he doesn't say don't do it, right? He just says, like, I'm not going to support you. Like, you're crazy. And then it goes to, like, the thing. So it's, like, you know. And he keeps finding good reasons, right? Like, you know. Like, obviously, you're not going to burn books, right? It's like, well, if you can be so obvious about, like, of course you're not going to burn books, like, why are you going to make, you know, music and dancing illegal, right? It's just, like, the parallel, like, why he's blind or whatever, right? Like, the death of his son blinds him to this, as opposed to, like, the burning of books, which is obviously insane. Like, why would you burn books? Like...
But it's crazy even then that he's talked, like, the rhetoric, like, that's what I'm saying, like, nowadays people are even arguing about books having pornography in it, and they're defining pornography as just anything, like...
they don't like,
Yeah, it's anything, like, extremely offensive, or, there is a word that they were using for it, which is, like, a really vague, broad definition of pornography, that can apply to many things that is literally not porn. Like, explicit material. I think they described it as explicit material. And it's like this, and they're using it to ban queer things, or to say that, you know, classic books should not be taught because they're pornographic, or, like, the whole argument against Mouse because there is nudity in the books. And it's like, are we really doing this? Are people really arguing this right now? And it's like, and we're getting into, like, book burning today, where people want to do that, and they're banning books all over again, like they have been, but now it feels like it's even more rigorous.
And they get offended when you want to get rid of some Dr. Seuss books because some of them are racist.
Yeah. And that's literally, like, the publisher saying, we're not selling these anymore. Like, no one is saying you, like, no one is saying you can't read this book. No one is saying that these books have no value. It's the publisher is just saying, we're not going to keep selling these anymore. We're not going to keep making money off of these anymore. Dr. Seuss himself said he was not happy with those books. You know, like, afterwards, he was like, oh yeah, I drew some things I'm not proud of, right? Like, come on. His family supports the decision, and it's like, you're gonna go over here up in arms about Dr. Seuss being censored, which isn't even true, but you're over here literally trying to censor what people can and can't read, and protesting against, like, education materials and curriculum and such, and getting upset that a book has the word protest and march in it, and not wanting kids to learn about Rosa Parks. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. It's So again, it's wild because I feel like for a while, again, when I was thinking about watching Footloose and didn't, it was like, oh, I don't know if it's as good of a movie. You know, it's like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how it's aged. Maybe it's boring or it's just not what I think it would be. I don't know if I'd like it or not. But now it's like listening to it, it's like, oh, this movie is suddenly really relevant. And it is kind
Yeah,
of
it's
like,
not just like, oh, we can't dance. It's like a whole journey, right? Like it's
yeah. Like I was
yeah.
kind of joking when I was like the liberals versus the fundamentalist Christians, but that's literally what the movie is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so yeah, exactly, is what it is.
Also, Ren
Um,
seems like such a sweetie.
he really is like you probably think he's gonna be like an asshole, you know,
Yeah.
just because like, oh, he's a big town guy, but he like really isn't. He's just like trying hard.
Yeah, he's not even like a bad kid. It's like the worst thing he probably does is get a fake ID so he can dance in a club and
Yeah.
like drink underage. But it's like, but aside from that, he probably doesn't get into that much trouble. He's like
Mm-hmm.
on the gymnastics team. Like,
Yeah. He's like, I want to wear the tie. Like, why are you gonna tell me I can't wear the
I
tie?
know
Like,
that's pretty funny and cute. So it's like, okay, he's just from a more cosmopolitan lifestyle
yeah.
and struggling to adjust to
Mm-hmm.
a town where he stands out so much
Mm-hmm.
when he's coming from a place where he just kind of just blended in.
Mm-hmm. And he's
So,
dealing with the fact that like his parents are going through a divorce.
yeah, he's dealing with the divorce and trying to live his life, and the one thing that brings him joy is like dancing and music and
And yeah, the one thing he
gymnastics.
can't do.
Yeah, and they're like, no, you can't do those things.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of funny. Like the one thing this kid likes, like the one thing he needs, is
Yeah,
like to dance to get, you know, to help him through things, and he can't. Like,
yeah. And then
yeah,
and then gymnastics is like the next thing, and they take that away from him
yeah,
too,
take
and
that.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. And like I know you find the preacher's daughter annoying, but her character also makes sense. It's like,
No, yeah,
yeah.
like I understand. It's just like you're making some really bad choices. Like I cannot support you in any way. Like,
Well, it's like when you are like so controlled like that,
mm-hmm. Yeah, you
literally
want to, yeah,
you're going to lash out because your behavior is the only thing you can control, and
yeah,
then it's like you're fighting to control something in an environment where you have so little.
yeah. Like I understand. I just,
Yeah.
ugh, I can't stand people. I get just not like that. Like, not like I don't know. It's just I don't. I don't know. I guess because I'm just so like mild mannered.
Yeah.
Like I could never, you know, like do anything she does. It's just
Yeah.
like you're insane. You're insane. You're crazy. You're a crazy person. You
Yeah.
are crazy. And like even the mom tells her like, you know, everything she does, she's like doing because of you or for you. Like she's just trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Like trying to get that, you know, she used to be daddy's girl. Like she still wants to be daddy's girl.
Mhm.
Like, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh. Yeah, I'll have to watch it
Mm-hmm.
as someone who has lived in a wide variety of political areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, but yeah, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Yep, it's a soundtrack rating.
Soundtrack. That soundtrack is so good.
I know it's so good.
It's so good.
It's
Like,
so good. Like one of the reasons why I wanted this album is because the Spotify version of this album doesn't have one of my favorite songs, which is Sammy Hagar's "The Girl Gets Around." That song is so good. Like,
I don't even remember.
I used to skip that song a lot when I was younger, or I would like kind of listen to it and I was just like whatever. But then as I got older, I was like, no, that song is great. I really like this song, but Spotify doesn't have that song, and it's hard to find that song anywhere. And I'm like, well, I need to get the album.
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah. The girl gets around.
This is the song that plays when she's in the beginning when she's on the thing.
Yeah. I see.
When she's getting into the truck. Yeah.
Mhm. No, it's a good song. I like it.
Yeah.
But all the songs are good, honestly.
Yeah. The one song like I skip is "Dancing in the Sheets." I don't like that one. I just don't.
That
like
one I don't really like either. Yeah.
I'll listen to it like whatever, but
Yeah, that's
if I
the
had
one.
a choice.
I think that's the one I always skip to. I listen to like all the other ones.
Yeah.
Except I don't know the bonus tracks. Yeah.
That one's such a jam. I love that song.
Also, Kenny Loggins, he just sings so good.
He gets it. Kenny Loggins always understands the assignment.
Always.
Always understands the assignment.
He gets the extra credit, too. He knows exactly what you want. And he gives it to you. Every time.
How many men can you say can do that?
I can count on one hand.
Wow.
One of the other men is Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury also always understands the assignment.
Understands the assignment.
So does Mika.
Ugh. I love Mika.
I know. I want to see him in concert again. He's actually going to Los Angeles, and he's playing at the El Rey Theater, which I used to live right by. I'm like, oh, that would be such a cool concert.
He was going to come April 2020, and I had tickets to go see him, but of course it got canceled.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, it's fine. I didn't have anyone to go with anyway.
Yeah, the dates don't work for me when he's over here, so I'm like, ooh. Yeah, but next time. What would you rate the movie?
I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. That's probably more accurate.
For soundtrack.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Let me know in the comments if you've seen Footloose, what your favorite song is, and if you've seen the remake.
So the remake is like a shot for shot, just like...
Is it literally just...
It's not even like doing anything new.
It's just different people.
It's just different people. Worse actors.
The singing is worse too. Sometimes when I look up Footloose, I get the stupid Blake Shelton version, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What is this?
I don't want this country version. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've seen like bits of it, and I remember once I was like, let me look this up, and I like YouTubed it, and it was like they were like showing like shot for shot like the ending scene, and I was like, seriously, like you're not even gonna do any like even the same shots, like it was like nothing.
Interesting.
Like, there was no point in remaking it if you're just gonna not put a new interpretation on it or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you might as well just like re-release it. Like there's
exactly.
You know. So.
That'd be fun to watch in a theater if they re-release.
That'd be really
fun
like, to watch it at drive-in
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
And everyone gets out of their car at the same time that Ren does, and they all go. Like they all just. Like, what is happening?
It's like a Rocky Horror thing where there's like audience participation.
Yes. We all throw our beer bottles onto the railway station.
We all scream at the train scene.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Great. Nice. Fantastic.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Next time.
Bye.